Welcome to YOGATX. My name is Savannah, and today I'm bringing you a full embodied flow. So you can think from head to toes. We'll also fit in some breathing and meditation towards the end as well. If you're looking for more ad-free, distraction-free videos, check out our newest creation, a little project that we're working on called Yoga Vita. So you got exclusive content there. You're gonna have videos from all your favorite instructors, and we might even be taking some special requests. So do check that out. Today we're gonna start standing. So meet yourself where you're at, roll out your mat, or if you don't have one, you don't actually need one. We'll come to the top of our mat and go ahead and just find a comfortable standing position. So a lot of times we immediately come into this alignment-based yoga where our toes need to be facing some way, our knees need to be doing something particular. Instead, just come to the place that feels most comfortable for you. We'll draw one hand towards our heart, or if it feels more comfortable, you might pull it towards the lower ribs. The second hand on your lower abdomen, and allow your gaze to drift forward, maybe about 6 to 8 feet on the floor in front of you. You're more than welcome to start with your eyes open or closed. As you're ready, start with an exhale out through pursed lips. Welcoming your inhale through your nose, follow it down the throat, filling up the belly, ribs, and chest. Notice the expansion in the sides and the back ribs, and we'll start our exhale from our navel, drawing back towards our spine. Feel the ribs come closer together. Then again, in through the nose, down the throat. Notice where the breath goes, and as you exhale from the lowest part of your abdomen, hugging in, lifting the breath up and out. Pause with yourself for 4 breaths, just like that. Maybe you get a deeper connection to your feet on the floor. Feeling the breath move throughout the torso, using your hands as feedback. Two more breaths like that. Start with some simple reaches. So when you're ready to take a breath in, reach up through your right hand and think about grabbing a spice off of the top of your counter and use everything in your body, even your hips, your torso, maybe the opposite foot lifts to help you reach a little higher. Pause there. And as you exhale, relax your right hand down. Take another breath in. Left arm reaches up this time. We'll take our palm to face forward. Notice what would need to happen in the body for you to really extend up through those left fingers. Maybe that right hip hikes up a bit. Right heel might lift up. Then exhale, bring it down. And we'll make this fairly breath-centric. So as your inhale starts, one arm reaches up. Follow that motion through your obliques, opposite hip, opposite heel, helps you reach up a little higher. Maybe your gaze lifts. As you exhale, bringing it down. Just like that, we'll take 2 more rounds on each side. Feeling the sides and the back of the ribs fill up, helping you reach. And then exhale as the ribs deflate, your arm deflates back down. One more time each side. Maybe you take a little lean with your head to the side, and as you exhale again, arm relaxes down. Let your shoulders be soft. Last side. Let your head lean over, neck is relaxed, and as you breathe out, bring both hands down to your thighs and rest your hips back behind your heels. Look at your toes, spread them out a little bit so you can feel the floor underneath you. We'll take a breath in, reaching your hands forward. On your next exhale, hands come to the front of your knees. Use your legs as support as you slide your hands down into a fold. You might let the crown of your head point down. Maybe you take your gaze behind you. Next time you breathe in, legs stay as they are. Hands slide up and reach forward for that counterbalance. Welcome to chair pose as you exhale, coming into that supported fold. Legs stay as deeply bent as you can get them. Don't worry about hamstring length here. 3 more times like that, breath-centric. Let your inhale fill you up. Reach your hands forward, tailbone reaching in the opposite direction. As you exhale, settling in again. Last 2 rounds with your breath. And on your next exhale, slide your hands all the way down to the floor. Step your left foot behind you. It doesn't have to be a large step. We'll seal the left heel down and walk our hands up the right thigh. So we come into the position of warrior one with our legs. Check in with that back foot. You can have that foot facing the side of your mat, or if it's more comfortable, more supportive for your hips, ankles, and low back, you might start to point that back foot forward and notice some of that calf stretch available for you. On your next breath in, let your hands drift forward and up with the breath. As you start your exhale, invite your navel back to your spine, hands to your front knee. We'll start to slide down here. Keep drawing your navel back towards your spine. And on your inhale, think ribs expanding, sides expanding, back expanding, arms float up with the breath. And at your own pace, maybe even start to soften your gaze, soften some of your effort here. Find stability throughout the legs, toes still spreading wide to feel the ground beneath you. We'll take one more round after this. Pause here for a moment. You're welcome to rest your hands at your shins or on top of your thigh if it feels more supportive. Bring your attention to your low ribs, the sides of your ribs as well. When you breathe in, notice if you can feel movement around that area. Exhaling, navel to spine. And if your hands are all the way down at your shin, go ahead and lift it back up to your thigh. We'll root right forearm down on right thigh. Flip your right palm up. Really press the right thigh down towards the ground. And imagine trying to lift your right thigh off from the ground. So we're going to activate that hip flexor where its action is to lift your leg up. This arm and this leg is fighting, pushing down, lifting up. Maintain that, and on your next breath in, bring your left arm alongside your ear. See if you can feel that lift from the left side of your rib cage really coming up towards the ceiling, almost as if you weren't depending too much on that right forearm. Rest here, maybe even relax your neck for 2 breaths in, 2 breaths out. On your next breath out, start to lower your left hand down to the ground. We're going to lift up on the left toes. Lower your left knee down. Take a deep breath in and reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. Even here, notice if your head can relax down. Take 3 breaths in, 3 breaths out. If you have the space for it, the balance for it, you might untuck your left toe and really root down through that left shin. Notice how that changes the position of your low back. Start to invite right arm alongside right ear on your next inhale. We'll exhale, right hand comes down, framing that right foot. Take your time to wiggle your right foot forward, and we're just going to start to rock forward and back. Now there's this idea in yoga, it's been passed on through a bunch of yoga teachers, and no one's really asked why, but there's this common cue that says, don't let the knee go over your ankle. And if you've ever been hiking, you've ever walked upstairs, you'll notice your knee goes over your ankle, and we actually need that healthy relationship between knee and ankle. So give yourself a little rocking back forward, and then sitting your back hip towards your back heel, and let go of some of that fear-mongering around movement. Move into what feels good for you. And then notice if you could do that without your fingertips. So staying low, how could you control your movement forward and use the strength of your legs to press yourself out and draw your hips back? We'll try that 2 more times, adding the breath in as you breathe in, come forward. And as you exhale, navel draws up to spine, strong legs as you shift the hips back. 1 more breath. On your next breath out, we'll step the right foot behind us. Let's take a downward facing dog, dialing our fingers out to face the top corners of your mat. You might even make a little cup shape with your index finger and thumb to support your shoulders as you tuck the toes, lift the knees. Think about your tailbone reaching up towards the ceiling, bending your knees more than you think you need to, and giving some freedom to the pelvis, so rocking it from side to side. Maybe moving the knees in different directions, feeling that support from your fingertips to the back of your shoulders. And then pause with your legs in a stable position. Start to mobilize your neck. Look back towards your navel. And look towards the top of your mat. If you feel those trap muscles, the top of your shoulders really engaging and working hard for you, think about scooping your armpits down and under. Pause, 2 breaths in, 2 breaths out. And we'll meet ourselves halfway up the mat. So walking our feet halfway up and then walking our hands halfway up. Start to bend your knees right away so there's less stress on the low back. Think long spine, tailbone reaching to the back of the mat, crown of the head reaching in front of you. Root down through your feet, and on your next breath in, arms sweep out to the side. Lift up through the chest, reach your arms over your head. Pause here, and as you exhale, let your hands land on the top of your head. We'll clasp our fingertips here and just take a little movement from side to side. Open up that side body, the space between the ribs. It'll help you breathe better. Next breath in, root down through the feet, reach up through your hands. As you exhale, deeply bend the knees, bring your hands to the front of your knees, slide them down towards the ground. You might walk your hands forward if you're in the middle of the mat. We'll step right foot back this time. I'm gonna turn around on my mat so you can see me. And we'll keep left foot at the top. Once you're here, take a deep breath in and bring yourself up to Warrior One. Let your arms come out to the side, reaching over your head. And as you exhale, hands come down to that front thigh. Remember, you can stay here and lean with the chest. This is a really nice place to support your low back. If you'd like to go a little bit further, continue with that exhale, drawing your navel up towards the spine. Slide your hands down. We'll make it alive, so let your pose breathe. As you breathe in, your arms move, your chest expands. Exhale, hands soften down, finding that fold with support from the low abdomen. Just like that, 3 or 4 more rounds. Think quality over quantity. So yoga is the one place where you don't have to worry about getting anything done. Maybe it seems like you're trying to accomplish something in yoga, but really it's just coming into the present moment and noticing whatever there is to notice, as my teacher would say. Last round here, take a deep breath in, fill up the sides of the ribs, the back of the ribs, arms float overhead before we lower down to pause in that folded warrior. Remember, pause here, pause here, pause here. You might bring a block in if that's in your practice. And then think about the back band of your rib, the sides of your ribs. As you soften your abdomen, could you muscularly expand the rib cage with your inhale? Keep that expansion by drawing the navel up towards the spine. 2 more breaths like that. If this feels comfortable and you haven't yet explored it, maybe you slide your hands down. Next exhale, start to lower your right knee. If it would feel comfortable for the top of your right ankle, maybe you untuck your toe, root down through the right shin, right hand plants down. We'll take a strong reach up through our left hand. Let your head relax towards your right shoulder. Find stability through those 3 connecting points, right hand, left foot, right shin. Next breath out, left hand comes down. We'll frame that left foot. If you feel like you don't have a lot of area to move here, go ahead and wiggle your left toes forward a bit. And then get light on your fingertips and start to rock the hips forward and back. Now this could be a really passive motion where we're just sinking into our hips and then drawing back, or it could be a really active motion where we release the hands and find what control do we have when we come into that pose, and how could you use the strength of your legs, the drawing back of your navel to shift your hips towards that back heel. Now if you're looking at me and you're like, how is she doing that? Remember that idea that there's nothing to accomplish. You get a lot of movement, a lot of flexibility teaching yoga classes, but that's not always the goal. In fact, for me personally, I'm always working on strength. So take what you have and use it to your best ability. 2 more breaths. If you haven't tried it without the hands, maybe you start to explore that. Allow yourself to not go as deep so you feel safe throughout that exploration. Then we'll root our hands down around our left foot. Tuck your right toe. Lift your right knee up, and we're going to turn our toes to the side of the mat. Let your knees bend deeply here. You might even wiggle your feet in just a little bit wider so they're maybe about 6 inches wider than your hips or so. Draw your hands towards your shins or your ankles. If it feels more supportive for your back to lift them up, pause here, and we'll take a breath in. Scoop the chest forward, lift your chin up. As you exhale, round your back and start to lift up through the hips as you take your gaze back behind you. Maybe you close the eyes here, knees bend as you breathe in, gaze travels forward. Exhale, navel to spine as you deepen your fold. 2 more rounds. Then lower your hands down on the ground. Wiggle your right foot out straight, right toes pointing forward. Travel your right hand over towards the left side of the mat. It can be close to the left foot or in front of the left foot, and we'll take a twist. Root down through the right side of your right foot so your arch stays lifted. Start to reach up through your left arm. You can be here, you can be here, you can be here. Find the place that sparks the most joy for you, as Marie Kondo would say. 2 breaths in, 2 breaths out. On your next breath out, shift over, right knee bends, left leg starts to straighten, but we're not going to lose that strength of the arch. Bring your left hand over towards your right foot, right shin, right knee, right top of the thigh, your choice, and as you breathe in, right arm extends upward. Connect back to the feet. Notice if there's space to relax the neck. One side might have different needs than the other. And on your next breath out, lower your hands down, both knees bend, and we'll just start to sweep our hands from side to side on the mat. And see if you can slowly lift yourself back up through standing. So the hands are touching the mat right now. We'll come about an inch above the mat and do the same movement. Then lift your chest up just a little bit higher. Notice the work in the hips. Lift your chest up a little bit higher. And then once you come all the way up to standing, we're going to shift over to that right foot. Take a bend in your right knee, lift up your left heel. Tap your left foot over and lift it up into a standing balance. Reach your arms straight overhead. Deep breath in. On your next breath out, stack left thigh over right thigh. Find your eagle pose. Maybe your left toe is tapped down on the ground for support. And then we'll sweep right arm underneath left. Give yourself a little hug or bring your forearms together. Eagle pose is a great place to develop your focus. So it's got an aspect of balance. It demands your attention. And there's also this guarding aspect of our hands, allowing us to turn inward. Here's a great opportunity to connect to the back of your ribs, the sides of the ribs as you breathe in. And on your next inhale, reach your arms out. We're going to come back to that wide-legged stance. As best as you can, lengthen your left leg over, start to bend into your left knee, and we'll pick the right leg up, standing balance. Take a breath in, arms reach up. Exhale, right thigh lands on the left thigh. Use the support where you can find it. The more stability you have in the pose, the more space there is to explore. Left arm wraps underneath the right. Give yourself a hug. Or bring the back of the forearms to be parallel. Find that space of inward attention, 2 to 3 breaths. And then breathe in, arms extend out to the side. Step your right foot out to the side. We're going to come all the way down to the ground, any way it makes sense for you. Come to a seated position so you're sitting on your right hip, and we're going to come into something I've dubbed Mermaid Pose. So once you get here, that outer right knee is coming down to the ground. You got most of your weight on the right hip. Left hip does not have to be in contact with the ground. Take your rib cage and actively turn to the right. And we'll start to walk our hands over towards the right side of the mat. Now, no need to come down all the way. You can always use your forearms, or maybe you walk your hands out and just let the weight of your head relax down. Find the place that feels most supportive for you. Close your eyes. Bring it back to the breath, in through the nose, out through pursed lips. 3 more rounds of breath. And then if the eyes are closed, open your eyes, wiggle your toes, walk your hands back towards your right hip, and we'll plant that right hand behind the right hip. Start to point your toes so you can roll onto the front of your shins. The front of our hips will lift up. You can always turn that right hand to find that support you need for your wrist. Start to reach up through your left arm. Pause for a couple breaths. If it would feel nice and juicy to reach your left arm over your left ear, maybe you invite that into your pose. And slowly release your left hand down, hips come down. We'll do a little active work here. So once you find yourself here, rest your right hand down. Try to turn your left thigh down towards the ground. This one is always getting my students to look at me like, is this some kind of sick joke? So if you get a cramp, know that you're not alone. We've worked into a lot of areas of passive flexibility today, and we want to know that we can be active at our end ranges as well. Pause there for a second. Maybe there's some quivering. It happens. And then release. Left foot comes back down. We're going to do the same thing for our right knee. Now, this can be a little bit tricky. So if you want to relax your right forearm down, it can make more space. Think about rolling the top of your right thigh down towards the floor, trying to elevate your right ankle. Everything you got. 2 breaths. And slowly release your right foot down. We're just going to roll over to the other side while swinging the legs forward, over towards the right. Most of your weight will land on your left hip. Find that comfortable position with your feet. And then bring your hands around your rib cage. Actively turn towards the left. Wherever your heart faces from there, walk your hands away. Let it be comfortable. So maybe you start with your hands down, just letting the head soften. Maybe there's room today to lower towards your forearms. Remember, deeper's not always better. Go to the place where you feel the most stable and secure. And closing the eyes and reconnecting to the breath. Out through pursed lips. One more round. And walking your hands back up towards your left hip. If you're not already lifted, we'll plant left hand behind our left hip. Point your toes. You can roll onto your shins. You might change the position of your left hand as you reach your right arm overhead. Pause and see if you can feel your glutes activate here. Remember, glutes help us extend our hips. We want those to be turned on. On your next inhale, maybe your right arm arcs over your right ear. Exhaling to lower back down. We're coming to that active flexibility. So bring your attention to your right thigh. Right top of the thigh turns down to the ground as the right foot lifts up. Notice the body's reaction. If you've never been here before, make space for this to be your first time. One breath in, one breath out. I don't want you to assume this is easy for me. Lower your right foot. Bring your attention to your left thigh. Let's all come down to our left forearm. Make some space for us to succeed. Turn the top of your left thigh down towards the ground. Give it everything you got to help elevate that left foot. One breath in, one breath out. Let your nervous system know that we're okay. Nothing bad is happening. It's just a new experience. And then lower your foot down. We'll lie on our back. Turn your feet forward with your knees bent. Lower yourself down, opening your arms out a little bit wider. And you can have your palms flipped up or palms flipped down, what feels best for your shoulders. We'll do a little bit of guided breathing. So with your feet wider than your hips, take a strong breath in. As you exhale, guide the knees over towards the left. Allow your navel and your hips to turn with the knees. Inhaling through center, knees lift up. Exhale, knees move towards the right. And just like that, start the breath first and then the movement follows. This is a little pranayama in your physical practice, breath work. You can think of the movement as something big and obvious that the mind can connect to, but the intention is to deepen that connection, the subtle breath, subtle energy. Long exhale here. Finishing this round and taking one more as you're ready. Meditation is choosing one object, one point of focus for your mind to stick to, and staying with that. This is meditation. On your next exhale, hug the knees into your chest. Let the hands land on top of the knees so there's a softening around this act of pulling the knees in, not a forceful drag towards your chest. Pausing here for 2 breaths. With the least amount of effort possible, turn over to one side and pause there. Let your ear rest on one arm. Maybe it's reaching above you. Pause with the support of the ground. Notice that. Be with that. And see if you can keep your neck relaxed. So keep your head nice and heavy as you press yourself up from the ground. Slowly coming to a seated position, we'll pause with our eyes closed. Last bit of time together. Notice the breath as it comes in through the nose, down your throat. Where does it go? Can you meet that expansive inhale with a complete exhale? Guiding one hand back to your heart, one hand back to your abdomen. Knowing that no matter the way and no matter the obstacle, there is something within you that is unchanging, divine, and essential. Drawing your palms back together, let your eyes flutter open. I thank you so much for sharing your time on the mat with me and choosing to do this practice. It's always a pleasure to share the practice of yoga. If you want to stay in touch, you can find me on Instagram. My name is Savannah on Instagram. Other than that, I truly hope you have a blessed day and you find some time to breathe. Remember, if you don't have time for one breath, take 3. Namaste.